Imagine walking into a public school classroom in America, only to find a quiet prayer session taking place, not led by students, but protected and encouraged by federal guidance. For some, this feels like a long overdue recognition of religious freedom. For others, it's a dangerous blurring of the lines between church and state. And now, former President Donald Trump is once again at the center of this debate. Today, we break down Trump's controversial new Department of Education guidance on prayer rights in public schools. What does it mean for America's future? Is this a step toward protecting freedom, or pushing a political and religious agenda? Stay tuned, because this debate goes deeper than you might think. Former President Donald Trump has always been a lightning rod for controversy, and his latest announcement is no exception. Standing before cameras after leaving court, where he faces ongoing legal battles, Trump made headlines again, this time not for his trial, but for education policy. He revealed that the Department of Education will issue new guidance explicitly protecting prayer rights in public schools. The move, Trump argued, is about defending students' First Amendment rights to religious expression. In his words, no student should ever feel silenced or punished for practicing their faith. At first glance, this sounds like a simple reaffirmation of freedom. But as we'll uncover, this policy has sparked outrage among Democrats, alarm among legal scholars, and deep divisions across America's political and cultural landscape. To understand the controversy, we need to go back to the foundation of American law. The U.S. Constitution guarantees freedom of religion under the First Amendment, which also contains the Establishment Clause, prohibiting the government from endorsing or promoting religion. For decades, the Supreme Court has walked a fine line in interpreting this balance. Students are allowed to pray in schools individually or in groups, as long as it's not disruptive and not officially led by teachers or administrators. The government cannot stop them, but it also cannot encourage or organize prayer. Trump's new guidance, critics argue, risks tipping the balance. By making prayer protections more explicit, the Department of Education could unintentionally, or perhaps intentionally, give the impression that the federal government endorses religious practices in public institutions. That's the heart of the debate. Democrats wasted no time in pushing back. Prominent lawmakers argued that the new guidance is less about protecting students' rights and more about energizing Trump's conservative and evangelical base. One Democratic senator said, "This is not about freedom. This is about politics. It's about promoting a specific religious agenda through the public school system." And for many progressives, the concern goes even further. They fear that the guidance could open the door for schools in conservative states to subtly pressure students into prayer or religious activity, making non-religious or minority faith students feel isolated or discriminated against. The central question becomes, is this guidance protecting freedom or imposing belief? This issue strikes at the heart of America's culture wars. For decades, the role of religion in public life has been one of the nation's most divisive topics. Prayer in schools, in particular, has long symbolized that divide. Supporters of Trump's policy argue that removing prayer from schools was a mistake in the first place. They see this as a restoration of traditional American values, a way to protect Christian students who feel increasingly marginalized in a secular education system. Opponents, however, argue that America is a pluralistic society, not a theocracy. Public schools, they say, must remain neutral spaces where children of all faiths, or none at all, can learn without feeling pressure to conform to a dominant religion. In other words, this debate isn't just about schools. It's about what kind of nation America wants to be. Legal scholars have already begun analyzing the potential fallout of Trump's guidance. Some warn that this could lead to lawsuits challenging existing precedents, such as Engel versus Vitale, 1962, the landmark case that banned school-sponsored prayer. If courts interpret Trump's policy as effectively encouraging prayer, even indirectly it could trigger a constitutional showdown. That means years of legal battles, and possibly another Supreme Court ruling that could reshape the landscape of religious freedom in America. Others argue the guidance is largely symbolic. After all, Students already have the right to pray privately in schools. So is this a genuine policy shift? Or just political theater designed to grab headlines while Trump battles his criminal charges? It's impossible to ignore the timing. Trump announced this move shortly after leaving a criminal trial, one of several ongoing legal cases that threaten his political future. Critics suggest that the announcement was a distraction strategy, shifting media attention away from courtroom drama and back toward an issue that fires up his supporters. By framing himself as a defender of faith and freedom, Trump may be seeking to rally his base ahead of future elections. But regardless of the timing, the announcement has already reignited one of America's oldest debates, and the consequences could be profound. Beyond America's borders, the world is watching. The United States often positions itself as a global defender of secular democracy and religious freedom. When American leaders blur those lines, it raises questions internationally about the country's commitment to those ideals. Nations with strong church-state ties, like Russia or certain Middle Eastern countries, may see this as validation of mixing religion with governance. On the other hand, secular allies in Europe could view it as a troubling sign of democratic backsliding. In an era where America's image on the global stage is already under strain, moves like this could reshape how both allies and rivals perceive U.S. democracy. So where does this leave us? On one hand, Trump's guidance appeals to millions of Americans who feel that their faith is under attack. It speaks directly to a conservative base that has long sought to bring prayer back into public schools. On the other hand, it raises serious concerns about church-state separation, minority rights, and the potential politicization of education. The legal, cultural, and global implications are enormous, and we may only be seeing the beginning of this battle. So, what do you think? Is Donald Trump's new prayer guidance a necessary defense of religious freedom, or is it a political maneuver that undermines the principle of separation between church and state? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective. And if you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss our deep dives into the stories shaping our world. Because whether it's in the courtroom, the classroom, or the campaign trail, the future of American democracy is being written right now, and you deserve to be informed.